Well, once again, I've got the gearbox out. So when I first saw this, I thought, obviously, sorry, I should give some background. I've taken the gearbox out again because I've got this horrible graunching noise on overrun, or deceleration, if you like. When I first took this out, I thought these shiny spots, I thought, oh my goodness, something's been rubbing on the cover. But it's not that. That is the natural manufacturing shape, and in fact you can run your finger along it and it's completely smooth. That's definitely not what's happening. And also, if I look in here, you can see it's all still perfectly normal. There's no sign of anything. The only thing I can see is it looks a bit dusty, or bit more dusty in there than it was when I put it together, but as it's got a new clutch plate in it, that's not surprising. Yeah, so I can only conclude it's the gearbox. The only other possibility is that it's something to do with this centre bearing, but I can't see any horrible marks on it or anything, or it's not thrown a load of horrible stuff out or anything like that, so seems unlikely. I think we just have to accept that it's the gearbox. So I'm picking up another gearbox tomorrow, and I'll swap all the clutch mechanism over, and we'll stick the new one in and see how we go. Actually, one point to round off this video. I've had a devil of a job getting these cables off the back of the starter motor solenoid. And the reason is because, stupidly, I went and Loctited the nuts onto the little copper stems. Don't do that. It's a real mistake. I had a real devil of a job, and in fact, this one here, which is the sort of solenoid trigger circuit, I've actually done some damage to the connector on the end. So I think what I'm going to do is cut it off and put a new one on, because yeah, I think I'm going to have to. It's in a bit of a state, unless I might be able to repair it with solder, but bearing in mind it's under the inlet manifold, if it breaks and I have to repair it, I'm going to have to strip all the inlet manifold off again. So I need to be pretty certain that it's going to be secure. I've just returned from the breakers with a replacement gearbox, and I have to commend LK Spares in Harlow on their stock, because they've got a tremendous stock of parts, and they're very helpful. This one, apparently, it says here 35k, which I take it means 35k miles, and it certainly looks in really good condition, as you can see. And it's great that it's come with all the the gear change piece, because this clip here, my one's broken, and I was going to have to get a new one from BMW, so that will save me that cost. It also comes with it's come with a clutch cylinder, slave cylinder, so that's useful, and it's come with a donut, and the donut looks as though it's in good nick. So I will check it over to make sure it's okay, but I may well leave it on there and keep the other one as a spare. Other than that, everything looks good. The only thing I'm a bit concerned is I can't actually find a marking on the gearbox that tells me the overall part number. There's part numbers for the castings and things, but there's nothing for the overall part number. But what I do have just here is what looks like manufacturing dates, which is November 04. That being the case, they didn't do a 6-speed in November 04, so that's one indication that it's not a 6-speed. And the other thing is, I've tried actually getting 6th gear using the gear change, and you can't get it. All I can get is 5th. And if you try and go back down where 6 would be, it just comes back to the centre and goes back down into 4th. So I'm pretty confident it's the right box. So I can't wait to get it in. It's a bit grubby round here. Looks as though it's been sitting outside or something, so there's some corrosion, sort of water damage there, but there's no sign of oil. The first box they brought out to me had a lot of oil on it, and I wasn't keen, I must admit. And then they said, well, why don't you go and have a look and see what we've got? And so me and another guy went down and looked at all the boxes they'd got, and I found this one, which I'm really happy with. It looks in great nick. And if it's only done 35k, oh, and it's not got any slop in the gearbox at all, whereas with my one, you sort of turn it a fair bit and you can feel it slopping around in the gears. This one is completely tight. That's in neutral at the moment, so if I put that in a gear, yeah, it's completely tight. It's great. I'm really pleased. So I've cleaned the corrosion out of the front of the gearbox. The clutch release tube here is in really good condition. So although I put a new one on the other gearbox, I'm not going to bother changing it over. I'm debating whether to put the stainless steel pin in there. The only thing I found is I'm sure I'm getting a rattle from that pin. Certainly when you release the clutch, which I probably wouldn't get if it was the nylon pin, but I suppose why would I care about a rattle? It doesn't exactly matter. So maybe I'll put the stainless steel pin in anyway. So I also want to remove the gearbox linkage, and I'm going to keep all the parts because it's in such great nick. It's just unbelievable. It's in really good condition. And a win I've had here is that this clip here on my gearbox, the tab on the other side that locks it in place is broken. So I was going to have to get a new one of those. And of course, now I've got one. It's just, and this cost me £80 for this thing. I'm so happy. I mean, I hope I'm not disappointed when I get it in the car, but quite honestly, at the moment, it's looking like a real bargain. Interesting thing, the guy at the breakers told me that these gearboxes seem to be very reliable, and that's why he doesn't shift many of them, and why he sells them so cheaply, because there isn't much demand for them and they seem to go on forever. You know, obviously, if mine's the original, it's done 165,000 miles, so it's not done bad. And if this really has only done 35,000, then I can't imagine I'm ever going to need to change this, unless I'm being a bit naive about racing. But I haven't heard from the 40/40 guys that the gearboxes are particularly prone, so sounds good. Yeah, bargain. I may be able to show you the problem with my old gearbox. So this is my old gearbox. If you watch the donut on the far end, if I turn, you perhaps can't see it, but there's a fair bit of sort of play between as I turn. In fact, you feel it more the other way round from turning it from the other end. If I swap over to the new gearbox, there's nothing. I can't feel any play at all. As soon as you turn the input shaft, the output shaft moves. So I'm hoping that's enough to prove that that's the problem with the gearbox. I'm going to, as I've got nothing to lose, I'm going to actually take this gearbox apart and have a look inside and see if I can find any worn bearings, if that's what it is. I guess it could be worn gears, but I have taken a gearbox apart before. I've not really reconditioned one. I just did it to inspect it. It was an imp box that had Hillman imp box that had, it was Jack Knight box actually, and it had dog clutches rather than synchros. And one of the things you have to check with a dog clutch is that the teeth are not all just, if it knocks all the corners off the teeth, then it won't engage properly. So I took it apart to check that, and actually it was in really good nick. That was a second-hand gearbox. That worked out well for me. So maybe this is my this is where the luck kicks in a bit. Now, the one thing I've noticed on this gearbox is this dowel, and the dowel is not on that one. So the question is the dowel stuck in the block? No, and there's no dowel hole either. So that's suspicious. Okay, that's suspicious. Why is that then? Well, maybe I'm looking for problems where they don't actually exist. I'm sure I've got the right part there. There's a hole there for the screws, the bolts. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to have to take that dowel out anyway, otherwise it's not going to fit in the block. Okay, so you can see that I've more or less prepared the right hand box. All the clutch mechanism is in, but I can't get the I can't get these bolts out without taking the donut or guido or whatever you call it off. So I don't know how they got these ones out. Let's just check that it looks the same. Yeah, it does look exactly the same. The only thing I can think is maybe they just cut these off, you know, with an angle grinder or something. The box looks exactly the same both sides, so I can't see a difference. So I can't think why you could get it out of this one but not get it out of the other one. So yeah, I guess they cut them off. I can't believe they would have unbolted it all and then bolted it back up, because being a breakers, they'd have just taken this off and just either chucked it on the shelf or thrown it in a bin or something. So I'm going to have to take them off, and if I'm going to take them off, then I may as well put the new one on, and I'll keep the old donut as a spare. Okay, but I've run out of time again, so that will have to be done tomorrow. I'm in London, so it's not going to get done tomorrow, so it will be Thursday.